Time is 2:42 p.m. We are back on the record.
All right. So, Mr. Browder, there's nothing in Exhibit 1 about any tracing to Mr. Kluyev or Mr. Pavlov, to Cyprus companies. So is there somewhere else that you provided this to the U.S. government?
I don't remember what we provided in relation to this issue.
Do you are you sure there were...
Let me rephrase. I didn't provide anything to the U.S. government on this issue.
Did anybody in your team provide information to the U.S. government on this issue?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are you sure that that tracing occurred to Cyprus companies for Pavlov and Kluyev?
Yes.
You're sure?
Yeah.
And so you have information of that nature?
I don't personally, my team has it.
I see. And you haven't produced it to us one more time. Is that right? Was that intentional?
No.
How'd you get the information?
I don't know.
Who got the information?
My team.
Who on your team got this information?
Lawyers and my staff.
What lawyers and what staff?
Vladimir Postakov and Vadim Kleiner and other lawyers.
How much money went to Mr. Kluyev and Mr. Pavlov?
I don't know. And well, yes, I don't know. Let's stick with that answer.
Have you traced any money to Mr. Kuznetsov?
Not to my personal knowledge.
Can you speak up, please?
Not to my personal knowledge.
Have you traced any money from the $230 million fraud to Mr. Usinov?
Who?
This fellow, we had this little go-around about how you spell his name. Usinsov?
Oh, you mean Uzhumsov?
Uzhumsov. I won't be able to spell it anyway.
Right.
Did you trace any money to him?
Not in my personal knowledge.
Trace any money from the fraud to Mr. Karpov?
Not to my personal knowledge.
And Mr. Markelov?
Yes, he was the owner of the stolen companies.
Did you trace any money into a bank account for Mr. Markelov
He was
from the $230 million fraud?
Yes.
How much money?
About 2/3 of the $230 million went to his accounts at USB.
Okay, so he was the account holder at USB for the money that came through USB.
He was the owner of the company, and I believe a director, but I'm not sure about that. He was the owner of the 3 stolen Hermitage companies and director of one of them, I believe.
And did any of the money stay in bank accounts that he had access to?
Not to my personal knowledge.
Mr. Klebnikov, the other fellow who was convicted, did you trace any money to him?
He was the director of one of the companies that received part of this $230 million.
And did any money stay in that account for his use?
Not to my personal knowledge.
Did you trace any money to Miss Kamina, the head of tax office number 25?
Yes.
How much money did you trace to Miss Kamina?
I don't remember the exact amount, but she used money to buy apartments in Dubai that was wired by Credit Suisse.
And how do you trace that back to the Russian $230 million fraud?
I didn't do the tracing.
You don't have any idea?
No.
And Miss Stepanova, you say got money because Mr. Stepanov, her husband, got money, according to you.
That's
right?
correct. Yeah.
All right. You say husband or ex-husband. There's a dispute about that. What's the dispute?
Whether they're divorced or not.
Whether they've ever been divorced?
whether they're divorced or not, or legitimately divorced, or whether it means anything.
I see. So Mr. Stepanov claims they were divorced in the 1990s, right?
I don't remember when they were supposed to have been divorced. No, I don't know the details.
I see. You traced any money into her name?
No.
So it's all into Mr. Stepanov.
Yeah. So you have the Olga Stepanova, who is the head of tax office number 28, approving the tax refund,
Right.
and then that money going to accounts in her husband's name at Credit Suisse.
According
I'm
to
sorry,
you.
ex-husband's name, excuse me.
Husband or ex-husband, depending on how you resolve the dispute.
Correct.
Okay, so if you look at the amended complaint, paragraph 69. This relates to the conviction of Mr. Markelov and Mr. Klebnikov. And if you look at the second to last sentence, it says, the verdict announcing Markelov's sentence claimed that the tax authorities were deceived by Markelov and not complicit. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That would be, you have to give me a yes for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. So that would be referring to Ms. Stepanova and Ms. Kamina, right?
Yes.
All right. Are you saying that the judge was corrupt?
Objection to form. You talk about the complaint or him?
No. I'm talking about whether he's saying the judge that made that finding. Are you saying that judge was corrupt?
Can you just rephrase?
Are you saying that the judge that made that finding, that the tax authorities were deceived by Markelov and not complicit, that's contrary to your theory, right? Your theory is they were complicit.
Yeah, they were complicit.
Right. So are you saying that the judge was corrupt?
I don't know whether he was corrupt or whether he was threatened or whether he was stupid, but
Do you know?
I don't know.
Do you know whether he was corrupt?
I don't know whether he was corrupt.
Do you know whether he was threatened?
I don't know whether he was threatened.
Do you know whether he was stupid?
I don't know whether he was stupid. But I do know one of the three.
Because you want to believe that, right? You don't have any facts that would support that, right?
Objection to form. Is that the last question you want him to answer? Or the
So
Do you have any facts that would support that the judge who made that finding was corrupt, threatened, or stupid?
The information available on this case is clear and overwhelming that the tax authorities were complicit. And for a judge to ignore that information, he would have had to be either corrupt, threatened, or stupid.
So the information available on the Markelov case makes it clear that the tax authorities were complicit?
No, the information available on the information that's available, the information that's in the case file makes it pretty clear to me that the tax authorities were complicit.
And you're talking about the Markelov case file?
Yeah.
And you reviewed the Markelov case file?
No.
But you made the conclusion even though you didn't review the file?
I have information from the file that was presented to me
By whom?
by my team.
The lawyers that you're referring to?
Yeah.
And how did they get access to the criminal file of Mr. Markelov?
I don't know.
Is it legal for them to have that information?
I would assume, yes.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
And what information are you referring to?
I'm referring to checks that took place. There's actually document. I can read you from the complaint if you want.
Sure.
Would that be helpful to you?
If there's something in the complaint you want to refer to, be my guest.
It might take me a few minutes to find it, but just bear with me.
Well, if you tell me what it is, I might help you.
Okay, I want to, hold on, I'll find it. Paragraph 42. Should I read it out loud to you?
If you want, it talks about how the tax authority said they verified.
Let me read it out loud to you.
Go
In subsequent investigation, officials at tax offices number 25 and 28 made witness statements claiming that amended tax returns were submitted in or about November of 2007 and claiming to have taken certain steps to verify the legitimacy of claimed losses. These statements do not appear to be fully accurate. One official claimed, among other things, to have checked with the corresponding tax authorities whether the plaintiffs in the sham lawsuits had reported receivables corresponding to the fraudulently obtained judgments, and to have found positive receivables reported. However, the forms Instar and Grand Active actually filed with the tax authority show 0 receivables over all relevant time periods. One of the judgments, on which the refund applications were based by its own terms, did not go into legal effect until January 11th, 2008. Nevertheless, on December 24th, 2007, the same day that the most of the refund applications were filed, and one business day after the others were filed, Kimina and Stepanova, as heads of Moscow Tax Office 25 and 28, approved the $230 million in refunds, which on information belief amounted to the largest known tax refund in Russian history.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
And this is information your team got from the tax authorities? Where did you get this information?
I don't know.
Is it legal for you to have tax information from taxpayers other than your own?
Yes.
It's legal.
Yeah.
Anybody can have access to tax information in Russia?
No.
So then why is it legal for you to have it?
Because we got it legally.
How did you get it legally?
I don't know.
You're sure you got it legally, but you don't know how you got it?
Yeah.
And what makes you so sure you got it legally?
Because I work with reliable people who do things by the law.
Well, Mr. Kleiner, according to your book, went into Moscow. He has sources, he said. And he got information. So why wouldn't he tell you who the sources are if he has information that's legally obtained?
What's the question?
Why wouldn't he tell you who the sources are if he has information that's legally obtained?
The question, you're making an assumption with the question.
I'm quoting your book, which says, Mr. Kleiner said, I have sources in Moscow, and he came back with information, I think, from the central bank. Why would he need sources if it was legal to have the information?
Are you asking about this information, or are you asking about different information?
I'm asking about the information in the book
Which information?
that Mr. Kleiner got from the central bank,
Okay, so
from
you're
sources.
Okay, so you're asking about the central bank, not about the tax records now.
That's right.
Okay, so what is the question about the central bank records?
Why would he need sources to get legal information?
I don't know.
Okay, and you have no idea how the tax information came in possession of your team, because they never ever do anything wrong, right?
I don't know how my team got this information, and I assume and I'm confident that it was obtained legally.
Because that's what you want to believe. But
No.
you can't give us any facts. Give me a fact. Give me a fact. Rather than your belief, your general belief, give me a fact that would tell me this stuff was obtained legally.
Is that a question?
Yes, give me a fact.
I have no facts to give you.
So the best thing to say was, I believe it was obtained legally, right?
Objection to the form.
What's the question?
I'll withdraw it. So, you claim that Miss Stefanova got a lot of money, right?
I claim that she and her husband profited from this crime in a large amount, yes.
Right. And you make the conclusion that she and her husband profited from the fact that you say he got money in his name.
That's one of the assumptions about her wealth.
One of the assumptions is that he got money from the $230 million fraud.
Correct.
And the other assumption is they're still married.
Another assumption is they live in a $28 million house in Moscow on a salary of $38,000 a year.
I see. And it shouldn't be very hard if she lives there for somebody to knock on the door and say, hello, Miss Stefanova, we want to ask you some questions. But nobody's ever done that, right?
I'm not sure who has or hasn't knocked on her door.
I see. Has anybody on your team ever spoken to Miss Stepanova?
No.
Has anybody on your team ever observed her at that $28 million house?
Nobody on my team has, but I've received information from people who have observed her.
People. Can you give me some names?
Alexander Parapolichny.
Who is deceased?
Correct.
Can he give you the information in writing?
He gave us a bunch of bank documents about Miss Stepanova's husband's account.
Right, about the husband's accounts. But none of those documents mention Miss Stepanova, correct?
I'm not sure.
Well, why don't we take a look at them? You sent the documents to the Swiss authorities, right?
Correct.
Let me mark an exhibit. This is Exhibit 15. It's a letter dated 28 January 2011 to the Attorney General of Switzerland and others. Signed by Neil Micklethwaite. Can you identify that document? Steppenov outline? Missing something. Yeah. There's a separate one for him. Maybe I printed something that there's a- It might be. Or I might have worked on it. See if it's in my email. It specifically refers to stuff. So just what to do off the top of my head. See if it's in my email. Oh, it would be one of them. I did send it to you. Got it? I sent several ones to myself.
Yes.
All right. You recognize, what is it?
This is the complaint that was filed by Brown Rudnick on behalf of Hermitage Capital Management to the Swiss Attorney General in January 2011 in relation to the part of the...
Just speak up a little.
Want me to repeat what I said or just speak
No,
up
no,
from here?
keep going.
In relation to the money that showed up in Switzerland from the $230 million tax rebate fraud.
Okay, so let's go to the verified complaint first and then go. Did you provide this Swiss document to the U.S. government?
I don't remember.
Do you know what the, well, let's go to the amended complaint, paragraph 97. So you say, you didn't say, the U.S. government said. Actually starts on 96, let me see. All right, so 96 says, for example, Arvis Holdings is a Cyprus-based company with a bank account at Swiss Bank Credit Suisse, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you say, and the government says that it was beneficially owned by Steppenov, the then husband of Steppenova, right?
Yes.
All right, and then 97 says that on February 5th, 2008, there was a wire transfer routed through the Southern District of New York. The Bunacon de Economie account transferred $726,000 to an account at a Latvian bank in the name of Nomerex Trading Limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2 transfers in February 2008, the Nominix account transferred almost 4 million euros to an account in the name of the British Virgin Island company Quartel Trading Limited, which promptly transferred over 150,000 of that money to Baikonur Worldwide Limited, also a Virgin Island company. And in 5 transfers from on or about May 26, 2008 through on or about June 17, 2008, Baikonur, which on information and belief was shared ownership with Quartel, sent 7.1 million euros to Aravis. And then it concludes that Stepanov received the 7.1 because, according to the complaint, he owned Aravis, right?
That's what it says.
Okay. And that information, does that information come from this letter, what number is this? Which has been marked as Exhibit 15.
I'm not able to cross-reference these 2 documents to certify that everything there came from one place or another.
And you don't know whether this information in Exhibit 15 was given to the U.S. government, right?
I don't know if it was or wasn't.
And this information came from Mr. Parapolichny?
Parapolichny.
Parapolichny. I'm
Parapolichny.
sorry, I'll have trouble saying it. And who is he?
He was a whistleblower from Russia.
So he was a whistleblower. That's your description of him.
Yeah.
What's his first name?
Alexander.
Right? And what job did he have in Russia?
He was some type of financier.
And he got the information from somebody else, right?
I believe he was managing the accounts of Stepanova.
And so was it, you're going to tell me it's legal for him to be managing accounts of a private client and turn information over to your organization, and that's legal in Russia?
I don't know.
Would you be concerned if it wasn't legal?
Yeah.
But you didn't explore whether it was legal. Is that true? You didn't explore whether it was legal?
This had nothing to do with Russia.
Well, he was managing the accounts where?
He was managing the accounts of in Switzerland.
I see. Well, we certainly know that Swiss banking information is secret, right?
Right.
And he gave you information, right? Banking information?
Correct.
So you know it's illegal when you got it. Isn't that true?
No.
Swiss banking information is private and subject to privacy laws. He gives you the information, but what makes it legal then?
For who?
For you to possess it.
We didn't disclose any confidential secrets.
You didn't disclose any confidential secrets? What's this letter all about?
This is a letter of complaint to the Swiss government.
He disclosed it to you. Wasn't that illegal?
I don't know.
And you didn't explore whether it was legal or not?
I assumed it was legal.
You assumed it was legal. Even though we're the Swiss, you're in the finance business. You can just give up client information and it's legal to anybody in the world?
If it's not your client.
How many? But this was his client.
Could you rephrase the question, please?
You're in finance business. You've been in it for how many years?
Since 1992.
So a lot of years. If you have client information, you can just give it up to anybody and it's legal?
I didn't say that.
So you know it's illegal.
For who?
For you.
Wait,
to give up
objection.
client information.
Objection to form.
I wasn't giving any client information.
You know the law
What?
because you've participated in the industry for years. your client information is confidential. Isn't that true?
My client information is.
And his client information, Mr. Parapolichny's client information, was private to him and his client. Isn't that true?
I don't know what his arrangements were with his client.
You think his arrangement was he could just give up what you're claiming is information about a fraud to you, and it's legal for him to do that?
I didn't do a legal analysis.
Are you really serious about this? Come on. Do we have to fence about this? You knew it was illegal to receive, for him to give up the information, and maybe you had a little thought about whether it was legal for you to receive the information, but you didn't do anything to find out.
Objection.
Isn't that the situation?
Objection to form.
What, could you rephrase the question, please?
No.
Okay.
You knew it was illegal for him to give up the information.
Is that a question?
Yes.
That sounded like
Did
a
you-
statement.
Did you know it was illegal for him to give up the information?
No.
And that's, you're under oath and you're sticking with that answer.
I didn't know. I didn't even know. Yeah.
You didn't even think about it, right? You were thrilled to get it. Private information from a private citizen, and you were thrilled to get it. Isn't that true?
What's the question?
You were thrilled to get it, weren't you?
So the question was I thrilled to get it?
Yes.
I was. It was a breakthrough in our investigation to get this information.
Right, and you knew it was illegal for him to give it up, and it was illegal for you to receive it, but you didn't care because he's a whistleblower.
Objection.
And that makes it all okay, right?
Objection to form to the multiple questions.
Could you rephrase the question and break them down into simple questions?
Because, according to you, he's a whistleblower, you're happy to get illegally obtained information, right?
Objection to form.
Could you rephrase the question, please?
No. Can you answer it?
I don't understand the question.
I'll do it one more time. But you're just fencing, and we both know that you know the answer to this. It was illegal for Mr. Parapolichny to give up that information from a private client to you. True?
I don't know.
And you knew it was illegal for you to obtain the information. Isn't that true?
No.
But you did nothing to find out whether it was legal or illegal, correct?
We assumed it was legal.
How could it possibly be illegal in your industry?
Objection
How
to
could
form.
it possibly be legal in your industry for Mr. Parapolichny to give up client information?
Is there another way you can rephrase that question?
No.
The answer is many ways.
Okay. So you passed the information along to the Swiss authorities, right? And your lawyers made an argument on your behalf about why this showed it was money from the $230 million fraud, right?
The lawyers representing Hermitage filed a complaint with the Swiss Attorney General on the 28th of January 2011 alleging money laundering in relation to the $230 million.
Just leave me alone. Come on. Stop. All right, so let's go to page 3 of the letter.
Talking about Exhibit 15, that
Yes.
letter? Okay.
Yep. So you describe, your lawyers describe, red flags. Acetate was established as a shell company in the British Virgin Islands on 29 January 2007. BVI is a jurisdiction that's considered to be a high risk for money laundering due to its minimal due diligence requirements in connection with corporate registrations. You see what I'm reading?
I do.
You register companies in the BVI
I have.
for the purpose of money laundering?
No.
So not everybody who registers companies in the BVI are for engaged in money laundering, right?
Yep.
So how did you establish that Mr. Stepanoff had an interest in Actate?
I'd have to go back to the back of the complaint to find the documents. Would you like me to do that?
Yep.
On page 2326 of, or two, I'm sorry, I don't know how to refer you to pages here. Is it on the right-hand side or the left-hand side?
Left-hand side.
On the left-hand side, it would be 0002438.
2438. All right. And how does this establish that?
This is a document from Icate Properties signed by the director saying, "Dear sirs, I herewith confirm in confidence and on the understanding that this statement is made on the basis of information and data which I have with respect to the underwritten company as on date of this letter that name and citizenship Mr. Vladimir Stepanov, Russian Federation. Passport details 51, number 203-4225, DD 1612-2003, date of birth 17 July 1962. Is the sole and ultimate beneficial owner of Icate Properties, Inc., a company incorporated in the British Virgin Islands, and that the above reference company isn't involved in any money laundering activities. To the best of our knowledge, no action has been taken to wind up the affairs of this company."
So where'd you get this document?
Alexander Parapolichny.
And did you pay him anything for that?
No.
Anybody pay him anything for that?
No.
And how do you know he didn't create this document?
We don't know for sure whether he did or didn't.
Okay, and the signatures, you don't know whether they are real people or real signatures?
I don't know.
So he gives you a document out of the blue and you're going to rely upon it, right?
No.
All right. So then how did you determine whether it was an authentic document?
We tried to test different documents that he gave to us that could be tested to see whether they were authentic, to make a generalization about everything he provided to us.
All right. So what did you test?
We were given information by Alexander Parapolichny about the real estate in Dubai that belongs to Vladimir Stepanov, and we were able to cross-reference that with Dubai property databases.
Anything else?
We were given information about the property that Vladimir Stepanov and his wife Olga Stepanova owned in Moscow, and we were able to cross-reference that with property databases.
And the Moscow property databases, that's nowhere in this exhibit, right?
I don't know.
Well, you want to check? I mean, I haven't seen it. I've seen Dubai records that are towards the back here in the name Mr. Stepanov, but I haven't seen anything related to Moscow.
Would you like me to go through the document?
No, I don't want you to take the time. You claim, records from Moscow databases showing Ms. Stepanova owned property in Moscow. Is that what you're saying?
No.
That Mr. Stepanov owned property in Moscow?
We have records that show his property is registered into the name of his mother.
His mother. And there's no record of Miss Stepanova having any property in Moscow, correct?
No.
The assumption is that they're married, that they share assets, they get along, and that somehow she will someday benefit from this property. That's the assumption?
Is that a question?
Yes.
What's the question?
What's your assumption?
Our assumption is that the property's in Dubai, the property's in Moscow, and the bank accounts are all collectively owned by Olga Stepanova and her husband Vladlen.
And there is no fact that would support that assumption. That's just your assumption.
Yes.
Okay. So, there's another, going back to page 4, there's another reference to, there's a reference to Aravest. Cyprus is another jurisdiction that's considered to be high risk for money laundering due to its minimal due diligence requirements in connection with corporate registrations.
Could you just alert me to where you're reading from?
Paragraph 2,
Okay.
number 2. So you used Cyprus, correct, as a jurisdiction for corporations, right?
Correct.
And you've told us that you don't use it for money laundering, right?
Correct.
And so people who use Cyprus don't necessarily use it for money laundering, correct?
Correct.
All right, so Aravest, there's a similar document in the back for Aravest that you got from Mr. Perepelnitsky, right?
Correct.
And your assumption is that it's a legitimate document even though you can't do anything to confirm it other than what you've described already, right?
When we filed the complaint, that's correct.
Is there anything you can do now?
A moment to discuss.
Take a break.
It's 3:26 p.m. We are.
What time do you want to come back?